Please be seated. We are all here today because Eleanor Selma Rubin touched our lives. She was our teacher in life, in love, and in Judaism. Although Monmouth Reformed Temple was the first synagogue that Eleanor and her beloved Bob joined, you would have thought that she had been steeped in Torah and Talmud since childhood. Her knowledge of Jewish text and modern Jewish life was remarkable, and she never stopped learning, and she reminded us all to do the same. At the age of 95, Eleanor was still co-chair of our Israel committee. She studied Torah every Tuesday and every Saturday morning. And last year, she came to me and said, look, I've got time, I can still drive. Can I please join the Healing Health and Home Committee? I can go make visits. And she did. She made visits to people who were suffering, and her calmness and her demeanor helped them to feel better about where they were at every stage in life. Eleanor was deeply educated and endlessly curious. She loved theater, books, playing the piano, reading real magazines, not on the internet, she didn't like that, and journals, and surrounding herself with beauty. She remained fully capable of making every decision in her life and her death until her final day. Above all, Eleanor loved her family the most. She adored her husband, Bob, with whom she built a wonderful life over 58 years of marriage. I have in my office posters that came out of the closet of pictures of Monmouth Reform life from the early times. And on the one that I can see the most is a picture of Eleanor and Bob. In these past months, what she wanted most was to be with Bob again. Together, they raised 4 caring, loving sons, Jed, David, Michael, and Richard. And they were each encouraged to follow their own path and their own passion. David and Roberta, Michael and Cindy, Richard and Debbie blessed Eleanor with grandchildren, Kate, Dan, Ben, Jake, Yaakov, Gabrielle, Talia, Noah, and Aiden. I'd have to say that the Israel contingent supplied half. And 8 great-grandchildren who brought her such immense joy. Richard, Debbie, and Michael shared memories of a glorious adventure-filled childhood, the kind that could only be created by parents full of love, curiosity, and a sense of purpose. Eleanor connected with people wherever she went. From the beginning, serving as a governess at Unity House during summers, which is where she met her husband, to studying at Brooklyn College, to teaching 6th grade in Livingston, New Jersey, from leading exercise classes to seniors, to her work in geriatric care, to her countless volunteer or hours with Jewish education, with Jewish leadership, with every letter of the alphabet. Eleanor built relationships. She inspired others and found meaning in helping people live better lives. I once told Eleanor that I wanted to be like her because I admired her heart, her soul, and her head. She looked at me for a moment thoughtfully and said, well, you need to have one more kid, grow a lot taller, and go back to playing the piano. But Renee, God wants you to be Renee and not Eleanor. So live the life you're supposed to lead. That was Eleanor. Practical, wise, and right. I will miss catching her eye from the bema. She sat right there. I will miss her deep, resonant voice, her firm yet gentle arguments, her sense of conviction, and yes, even her egg salad. I will miss the afternoons in her home talking about world events, especially Israel. Surrounded by plastic bags, which she brought to my office filled with every adult education offering in her years here, flyers, articles, and letters that she thought I could learn from. Eleanor taught us all, not just through her words, but through her choices, her faith, and her fierce love of family and community. Her life was a blessing, and her memory will continue to guide us all. I will always continually learn and love Eleanor Rubin. A poem by David Harkins. You can shed tears because she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left behind. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or it can be full of love because of what you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she's gone, or you can cherish her memory and let us live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you could do what Eleanor would want, smile, open your eyes, love, and go on.
Sheviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. Sheviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. God is always, always right here by my side. God is always, always right here by my side. Sheviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. Sheviti Adonai lenegdi tamid.
A midrash. And the child asked, "Tell me of life," and the sage answered, "Life, my child, is a mystery. We do not ask to be born, nor do we ever understand the meaning of birth, of creation. We grow and we experience life's pleasures and pain. We love, and oh, so slowly, we come to realize that we have become that we are at that moment. We humble ourselves before the mystery of life and quietly say, though I knew not, I have been granted the most precious gift of all, the gift of life." And the child asked, "Teach me of death." And the sage answered, "Death, my child, is a mystery. It is the inevitable gift of the love life, the gift which came free to us, that we return. We live as the trustees of that mysterious being, of that unexplainable becoming. Yes, you and I all are trustees of life. We nurture it, we delight in it, we give it to others. And at the appointed time, we sadly, yet with pride, return it from whence it came. The beauty, my child, is what we are. What we have become remains long after the gift has been returned. It remains a precious keepsake with our loved ones who live on. Eleanor Rubin will not only live forever in this place, but in the hearts of all who are here and everyone who she knew.
Rabbi and I were having a huge challenge today. When we got here, the microphone was missing. It was an intrinsic part of what we're doing today. I needed to mute the microphone and connect to the soundboard, and I couldn't because we couldn't find it, and we couldn't connect to the soundboard. So I was driving Richard crazy because he heard all that feedback, and it was very disconcerting. So I decided Eleanor I think this is a sign from Eleanor. I got a text from somebody just now, and they told me how to solve the problem. And I'm telling you, Eleanor had a hand in it. Because she was a problem solver. They told me where it is, so I can go find it. So I think that the timing is very important. Eleanor had such a special impact on me, and she was really a role model to me because she made her life over again here, as long as I knew her, without her spouse. She moved in and she recreated herself. And so very few people join the synagogue in their 80s and then become like literally an everyday person at the synagogue and a well-known person at the synagogue. And that's what she did. And almost immediately after she joined, she set up this journaling class. And many of us went to the library and studied with this scholar Eleanor brought in to do this journaling class. And it really motivated me. I haven't done it yet, but I am motivated to write my journal because that's something Eleanor did. That's a gift she gave her family. She wrote her memories down. And two other things I want to say before I sing. Whenever we had the opportunity to celebrate her birthday, Zach Gilstein would organize a birthday celebration. And so many people wanted to come and always came. We had to fill up a huge table to celebrate her birthday. And then she'd say, oh, I don't know why I deserve all this attention and everything. We said, Eleanor, we want to be here. She just was so humble. She couldn't understand why we all wanted to be there to celebrate with her. And then recently, when Eleanor agreed to allow us to send food over to her home, which wasn't easy because Eleanor didn't want to trouble people. I had to be very specific with people. Only make this and don't make too much. Because if it's too much, Eleanor will say, stop the food, it's a waste, I don't deserve so much adulation. Well, people loved her so much they didn't listen to me. Okay? And they overwhelmed her with food. Literally, her request was, could I just have a toasted English muffin with a mashed salmon, like the salmon. That's what she wanted. So anyway, she was so overwhelmed with food, we stopped the food train. There was plenty of food. And I had to say to people, hold the food. And they said, we didn't listen to you. We wanted to flood her with food. So just small anecdotes of the impact she had, just in such an ordinary but impacting way. So I've chosen a song to sing here called Ki Imcha Makor Chayim. And it means from you is the source of light, and it also says from you is the source of life. And it's literally referring to God. But God lives very, very visibly in certain people. And in Eleanor we had life, and in Eleanor we saw light. So yes, like in our tradition, Song of Songs, our love poetry is about God and God's relationship with the Jewish people. But there are some people who transcend that meaning as well. So I do feel this is exactly emblematic of who she is and always will be for all of us. The source of life and light. Ki imcha mekor chayim, ki imcha mekor chayim, ki imcha mekor chayim, ki imcha mekor chayim. For in you
It's time to get to know the essence of Eleanor. And who knows her better than her children and her grandchildren? So we first invite up Michael to come speak.
I might need these, so I'll keep them right here. And if I have a few long pauses, just bear with me. I'll get it together. I want to thank Monmouth Reformed Temple and the congregation for giving my mother community for the last 15 years. It's been a very important part of her life. And I want to thank all of our friends and family who have come from far and wide to help us honor my mother on this day. And for the last several weeks, sleep has been an elusive thing for me at night. I lie in bed thinking about past events, and one that I kept coming back to in my childhood. 1963, I was 9. My mother was 33. To me, a child still. And my parents organized a cross-country vacation for us. Got the station wagon full of tents and cots and sleeping bags and supplies. And me and my 3 brothers packed in for a 1-month trip going across the country. And when you're 9 years old, your parents do these things, and you think that's what parents do. And at 70 years old, I think that it was extraordinary what they did. Your perspective changes. So we drove through Pennsylvania, which I recall went on forever, and Ohio, and Indiana, and Illinois, and Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and our westernmost destination was Aspen, Colorado. And in Aspen, Colorado, in 1963, it wasn't the Tony Resort you think about today. I think a lot of the roads weren't even paved at that time. And we went up into the mountains from Aspen to campground at Maroon Bells. And Maroon Bells is a place that practically everybody in here has probably seen at some time because it appears on calendars every year. Beautiful mountain scene. If you ever have a calendar and there's 3 mountain peaks, look closely and you'll see it's probably going to say Maroon Bells. So anyway, we're camping there, and camping is great. You see, we'd get there to the campground, and the first thing is setting up the tent. So my older brothers, Jed and David, always helped my father set up the tent. And my younger brother, Richard, who was 5 at the time, I guess just tried to stay out of the way. And I fulfilled my task of being a pain in the ass to the rest of the family. And camping could be a lot of fun until it started to rain. And then when it rains, what do you do? So we had this tent that had this cupola and then 2 sides, and on one side I slept on these army cots and the sleeping bags with Jed and David, and the other side were my parents and Richard, and in the middle was our, I guess, our camp living room. And my mother had the foresight to get an inexpensive guitar, learn a handful of chords, and bring a songbook with her on this trip. And so here we are in the rain when we should all be miserable, and we're listening to songs from the Weaver's Songbook, singing Go Tell Aunt Rhody, or Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, or This Land Is Your Land. And we're laughing and singing and having a great time. Then I take you forward 62 years. This past May, Cindy and I took my mother to a fundraising event for our great Senator Cory Booker at a local family's home. And after the senator gave his impassioned speech to the 70 or so people gathered there, he did what politicians do when he started to work the room. And everybody these days wants a selfie. So he's taking pictures left and right with everybody, and he gets up to my mother and asks her if she wants a selfie, and she said, "No, I have a question." And her question was, you know, in Newark, where you were mayor, they're doing so much reconstruction and changing neighborhoods, and lower income people are getting pushed out of where they lived for years and getting displaced by gentrification and high rises and expensive housing. What can you do about that? And he kind of punted on the answer and he said, well, I'm not mayor anymore, so it's not my purview, which was true. And the point of these two stories is, the first one tells of my mother's unimaginable love for her family. And the second one tells of her lifelong goal to try to help and assist and be there as much as she could for those less fortunate than her. It wasn't all about Eleanor, it was about the whole world. And that's the way that we will all remember her.
Jake? Jake's last. Richard?
Debbie and I live in Israel, and all of Bubba's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren are here today with the exception of ours. So they all wanted to be here, if not in person, then at least with their thoughts. So we're going to read to you thoughts from our 5 children, from oldest to youngest, and we'll take turns. My mom was Eleanor. To many of you people, to my father, Bob, she was El, but more often Hun. To myself and my brothers, she will always be Mommy. And to some of you, she was Aunt or Aunt Eleanor. And to all her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, she is Bubba. This is from her oldest, Yaakov. Dear Bubba, many things remind me of you. First of all, I think of you every morning when I make my bed. I make it a habit, thanks to you, the summer when I worked in a factory with Grandpa and Uncle Michael. One day, a couple of months ago, I forgot to make my bed and I couldn't believe it. I asked myself, did I not think of Bubba this morning? The past couple of years, during the war in Israel, I recall our trip to Washington, D.C. We visited monuments, and there was a sentence inscribed on one that read, "Freedom is not free." We talked about that for a couple of minutes then. I think of it often. There are streets in Jerusalem that remind me of you. The south of Israel reminds me of you, especially Arad. Sometimes I walk by a tennis court and remember playing with you or watching you and Grandpa play. And many more things remind me of you. My eyes are now filled with tears. I love you. Thank you, Bubba, for bringing my grandmother.
From our oldest daughter, Sarah Gabriella. My Bubba, my bliss, my role model, my Bubba who was never a typical grandmother. She was young in spirit, always energetic and full of life. She brightened her surroundings wherever she was. The Rubins of Israel had the privilege of being with Bubba and Grandpa on their special journeys in Israel, watching Bubba work and lead in projects, building and contributing to the Jewish nation. We were proud and happy to be the grandchildren of such an inspiring woman. And Bubba, on the other hand, was also proud and happy to brag about her grandchildren, and I have to add, about all of her grandchildren. I always love to brag to my friends about my Bubba, how she helped others, especially the elderly, how my Bubba did aerobics and took care of herself, doing needlepoint, cooking her chocolate chip cookies, her special garden, and so much more. Bubba and Grandpa together were an inspiring and loving couple. They were always there for each other in their very special way with loving words and so much sweetness. You know, wrong. Every minute with Bubba was meaningful, a meaningful teaching opportunity, even if we were just playing 1 potato, 2 potato. Despite the distance, I always felt that Bubba is close to us, remembering and interested in every part of our lives. Truly, Bubba was a strong woman. We could never imagine anything would happen to her. Bubba was always stay close and deep in our thoughts and our hearts. Bubba, I love you and miss you very much. May you rest in peace.
This is from Talia. My dear Bubba, I know that I've always been the distant one, the one that doesn't really keep in touch. But you never let me go too far. You were always there pulling me back in, and every time we spoke, you would fill me with such warm, accepting love. Bubba, even without talking much, you have been a guide to me forever. You taught me to accept compliments, to be proud of who I am, and stand up tall, things that have always been challenging to me. You taught me about accepting mistakes and drawbacks and living without regrets. I don't think a day goes by without me hearing your voice saying, should've, could've, would've. You taught me table manners, which I should probably use more often. You were a pusher. You could be tough and sometimes painfully honest, which is a trait I learned to admire. But in difficult moments, you treated me with the most sensitivity and patience, which I will forever cherish. Ever since I was little, you remembered every small detail I shared with you, every hobby and obsession I had, and put it down in needlepoint. My apartment today is full of magical, beautiful, and precise gifts that I received from you over the years. You know, I have some difficult making changes in life and finding my direction. The other day, a friend asked me what I wanted as a child to be when I grew up. I couldn't remember. But the past few days I remembered. I wanted to be just like my Bubba, a beautiful woman of impeccable taste, brave, noble, adventurous, fearless, kind and accepting, who lives life to the fullest. You know, Bubba, I usually shy away from sharing my feelings and writing with others. It honestly scares me, and I would rather hide myself. But when we were all asked to write something about you, I didn't care who it's shared with. I didn't care about my broken English or about being exposed, and I think that says a lot about who you are to me. I know you will keep guiding me all throughout my life and inspiring me to be a better and bigger person. I love you forever, Talia.
And Noah wrote to Richard, "Hi, Abba. I'm very sad that I can't be there with you now. I miss Bubba. I wrote her an email. I will write to her always, and I will miss her always. She was a very important role model in my life. She taught me resilience and about moving forward. I also liked talking with her about fashion, hair, skin, and girl stuff, and about shoes, school, career, boys, Judaism, and politics. She was my grandmother, my friend, and she understood me. I could tell her everything. I don't have anyone like her now. She was special to me like no one else. She was really smart, beautiful, and a good friend, even at 95, when I spoke to her a few days before she passed."
And this is from our youngest, Aiden. A few years back, Bubba and I met while she was visiting us here in Israel. She was sharing the work she'd been doing and exploring the potential investment in building and strengthening the state of Israel. She landed on the Or Foundation, dedicated to building the Negev and the Galil regions in Israel. For many years, Bubba shared with us her work in the Negev region. To my extraordinary Bubba, 3 years ago, I moved to the Negev with my parents. Despite the hardships over the past 2 years, the Negev is flourishing and productive once again. The farmers and the people of the Negev are some of the most resilient people I've come to know. We witness your work and your endless dedication to our home as it continues. I love you forever and always. Thank you for 31 years filled with extraordinary memories. And I'd just like to add one thought of my own, that my mother and I would often discuss a certain verse in the book of Deuteronomy toward the end of the book, toward the end of Moses' life, as he was addressing the entire assembly of Israel. It's a verse that I think just embodies who my mom is, and is to everyone, and I think it's her message to everyone. And it's just 2 words in Hebrew and 2 words in English, Uvacharta b'chaim, choose life.
Kate.
I'm Kate, Eleanor's eldest grandchild. Thank you all so much for being here and being such an important part of her life. I started calling Eleanor Bubba when I was 2 years old, and the name stuck. One of the last things she said to me was how much she liked that name and how great it is that everyone uses it. Her exact words were, "Everybody and their brother-in-law calls me Bubba." I want to share a little more of what it means to me to have had a Bubba. Having a Bubba meant being sat down and questioned intensively about my life at the beginning of every visit, whether I was 6 years old or just 2 weeks ago. It meant being expected to perform a violin solo for the Thanksgiving or Passover guests. It meant learning to host, to feed people, to make the best knishes in the world, to make occasions to share. She hosted every family gathering for 75 years straight. It meant receiving a cheese slicer in the mail a few days after I had hosted her in my home without the proper equipment. Having a Bubba meant hearing so many stories, some of great hardship, of her father's death when she was a child, of her mother being ill, of running out of gas halfway across the country with 4 little kids in the car. And if I said, "That sounds so stressful," she would always say, "As long as we were together, I was happy." Having a Bubba meant having a role model who used her voice for good, who lobbied Congress on behalf of the elderly, who got a graduate degree after raising 4 children, who started her own business as a geriatric care manager, helping people age with dignity. When I was interviewing for jobs, I told myself, go in there like Bubba and tell him what's what. I needed some of her supreme confidence and self-assurance. Having a Bubba meant getting to brag to my friends, just like Gabriella. My grandmother made these beautiful needlepoints. My grandmother just got back from a trip to Israel. Here's a picture of my grandmother talking to Cory Booker. My grandmother used to take me to the Met as a child, and that's how I learned all I know about art. Having a Bubba meant being taken to the symphony. It meant seeing her dance to Nina Simone. When I hear certain Chopin nocturnes, I am instantly transported back to Bubba's living room in Watchung when I was a child. Having a Bubba meant learning how to live well, to appreciate life, to want to keep learning like she did, to have an expansive definition of family and to cherish them all. Bubba was always so happy I called, so happy I was there, and I am so happy she is a part of me.
Jake?
I'm going to turn on one of the microphones, and if it crackles, I'm going to turn it off. Okay? So bear with us. This is the moment of truth right now. Okay.
This is for Bubba. Shadows are falling and I'm running out of breath. Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your heart for a while. When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, keep me in your heart for a while. There's a train leaving nightly when all is said and done. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-da-da-la-da-da-da-da-do. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-da-da-da-da-da-da-do. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sometimes when you're doing simple things around the house, maybe you'll think of me and smile. You know I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while. Hold me in your thoughts, take me to your dreams, touch me as I toll into view. When the winter comes, keep the fires lit, and I will be right next to you. Engine drivers heading north to Pleasant Stream. Keep me in your heart for a while. These wheels keep on turning, but they're running out of steam. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-do. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-do. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while.
Jake, that was magnificent. Next time you're playing someplace, can you let me know? We invite up Jay and then Alexis, who would like to share some words.
It's nice to see so many people here who have a sense for Eleanor. Eleanor.
This is a tall family. Okay, here we go. Okay, start again.
Start again. I'm happy to be here with all of you. Eleanor, my Aunt Eleanor, she was my mother's younger sister. She was 14 when I was born. My Auntie Eleanor, we were very formal, became my Aunt Eleanor. And then she went to Eleanor, and then L, and then finally E, which is how she signed her notes and her birthday cards and everything else that she sent to me. My Aunt Eleanor has always been a towering presence in my life. From my earliest years, she was magical. By the time I was 5 or 6, my Aunt Eleanor had taken me by train to Providence to visit family up there, to Radio City to see the movie Kim, and to take me to that sparkling Christmas tree. And I was flower girl at her Cinderella wedding. She was a princess marrying my Uncle Bob, the prince. As I got older, my Aunt Eleanor became a more intimate presence in my life. In early December 1960, I was just 16, a senior in high school. I called her to tell her about a boy I liked. I wanted him to ask me out for New Year's Eve. Being Eleanor, she asked me about this boy. What was his name? How did I know him? What was he like? Blah, 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 blah. We talked a while, and then she said, "He sounds nice, and you really like him. And if he doesn't ask you by December 15th, just call me and we will work something out." I called her some days later. He did ask me out before December 15th. And that very summer, Len made his first Rubin public appearance on Fire Island. He was carrying a watermelon on his shoulder. 4 years later, Aunt Eleanor and her prince, Uncle Bob, were at our wedding. She was not wearing a flower girl dress. And then she was always a presence in both our lives. Trips to Vermont, skiing, Thanksgiving, Passover in New Jersey, or just visiting on the phone or visiting at home, just because. My Aunt Eleanor became a mentor, a role model, a confidant, and my friend, and always had a special place in my life. And every year when I would go visit that Christmas tree, I'd send her a picture, because some things stay with you forever. My Aunt Eleanor was kind, caring, and fun. She was generous in spirit and heart. She was magnanimous in so many ways with so many people. She was a symbol of spirit and joy. She passionately loved her family, her boys, their families. She loved my family. She was simply a tower of love. My Aunt Eleanor, as even my friends know her, my Aunt Eleanor, everyone should have one. She will always be forever in my heart.
My paper is entitled My Aunt Eleanor. It's a theme in our family. My name is Alexis, and I am Jay's daughter, which makes Eleanor Rubin my great Aunt Eleanor, or Auntie Eleanor, as she was previously known, which is a perfect name. I'm very grateful that Michael asked me if I would like to say a few things, but it seems that a lot of what I have to say is echoed by everybody else. Up until last year, I spent every single Thanksgiving at my Aunt Eleanor's dinner table, except for one snowy day when I was too young to remember, and the COVID fall of 2020. Thanksgiving was always my favorite holiday, which I'd attributed it to being non-religious, because everybody you know got to celebrate it, but as I've gotten older and had to think about how I spend my Thanksgiving, I realized it's my favorite because of her and what she created for our family that I love so much. One of my favorite parts of that day is when she makes us go around the table and everybody has to say what they're thankful or grateful for. I usually start thinking about it a few days in advance, because if you're at the end of the line, somebody might have said what you wanted to say, and that gets very stressful. So I always like to have backup. Some people are more elaborate than others, but it always makes us stop and think and reflect on how lucky we are. So today, I thought I would reflect on how lucky we've been. We're lucky for the example she set of a loving and respectful partnership. Back in Watchung, which I always said was my favorite house that I've ever gone to and spent a lot of time in, she and Uncle Bob would look at each other across a table that seemed to span 50 people with a genuine love and appreciation that I always hoped to have for myself one day. I'm thankful for her stories, which could be about someone she's known for decades, someone she met at the fish market, or something she read in the New York Times, because there was often a lesson that she explained explicitly at the end, or maybe not, but she just thought it was a really funny story and would start laughing to herself as she finished telling it. We're all fortunate because she showed up for you, for the big things and the small, a graduation, a lunch before the theater, or a rugby game. She always said, "Thank you for the call." She took your children upstairs to her personal library and read them her favorite books and let them know how special they are. I'm grateful for a great aunt who always treated who always treated my parents and me like we were an essential part of her dinner table. It has always been a table where not only are we welcome, but our loved ones are welcome. She created for us, the three of us, a big family that was inclusive and loyal and consistent. And I hope that we will carry that forward on Thanksgiving and every day. After Uncle Bob died, I can only imagine how difficult a time that was for her. But what I saw was her coming out on the other side, as everybody's talked about, continuing her life, staying active and healthy, participating at the synagogue with her old friends and new friends, and moving forward. It seems like I'm not the only one here, but I have always thought that when I grow up, I want to be just like her. And I still feel that way. I really thought that she was going to be with us until she was 105. I'm so thankful to have had her for all of my years. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing all those beautiful words and memories. It's something that we can each hold on to. Eleanor leaves a tremendous legacy of love, of caring, of preparing food and learning and loving, and playing instruments. And it's up to each one of us to pick one of those and live her legacy out loud. Think of everything you've learned from Eleanor and how she made you feel and make someone else feel that same way. I'm going to ask everyone to please rise for El Malay Rachamim.
שוכם ממרומים, אמצם רוחן חונה, תחת כנפי שכינה. אם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרגיל המזהירים, את נשמת אלינור בן שרה, שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים, יסיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום, בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן.
Fully compassionate God on high, to our loved one, Eleanor Rubin, who has entered eternity, grant her clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and the pure. Please reunite her with her beloved Bob. That's what she was waiting for. In the lofty heights of the sacred and the pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold her in the embrace of your wings. Secure her soul in eternity. Adonai, Eleanor bat Sara is yours. May she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. Richard, you had wanted to lead the French Sephardic Kaddish, so I invite you forward to do so at this time. Why don't you come up here?
say below? Hang on.
Okay, we'll get you a microphone.
So your family can hear you in Israel. They don't pick you up.
יתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמדי ורערכותי ימליך מלאכותי ויצמח פוקני וקרא משיחי. וחייכון ויום יכון וחירכו בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן וקריא ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולממיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. ואלה מן כל ברכתה שירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמרם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה חיים וצבא וישועה ונחמה וזזפה ורפואה וסליחה וכפרה ורווח והצלה לנו ולכל עמו ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום באמרומיו הוא ברחמה ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Your mother would be so glad that you four are together right now. So in honor of her deep love for Israel, we'd like to close today with Hatikva and face the Israeli flag. Kol od baleva v'nima nefesh Yehudi omina ulva'atem Yisrael kadima ayin letzion Sophia Ono ata tikvateinu Atikva בת שנות 2000 להיות החופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיות החופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים.
Eleanor was committed to Dror in Israel and taking care of children there who needed to be taken care of. And so the family asked that if you wish to make a donation, please make it to Dror to help save children or to Monmouth Reformed Temple. We thank you for sharing your mom with us. She truly blessed our lives in so many different ways. We wait as the family goes back, and the family has provided a meal for all of us to sit together and share more memories and laugh and cry together. And so I'd like to ask the family to go first.